everyone, I'm here today with my watercolors, my new set of watercolors. This is the most extensive set of watercolors I've ever owned that I recently got. So I've been playing like crazy with them and sharing stuff with you. I'm going to just show you some quick little techniques today. And I'm just using little squares of paper so that I can gather them and keep them separately and refer back to them as a resource. I can't think of a better way to have a little fun doing research. So for a wash, what I want to do is just wet my paper thoroughly. It's really not wetting it like you dip it into water, but more just dampening it. My brush is nice and full of paint. It's just loaded with paint. And I might need a little bit more water. The biggest thing about learning to work with watercolors is learning to work with the water. That's what people have trouble with. I'm going to lay down a nice stroke, just one. And I just dipped a tiny bit more water in. And here goes another one. And another one. And you can see the color fading as the brush gets less loaded with color. So again, rinse your brush in the dirtyish water and then into the clean water. And I always have a rag close at hand as well. I think I'll try some green, and this is that sap green. This is a sort of a primary green that you could get by mixing cobalt blue and cobalt yellow. It's just a beautiful stick. Okay. So then we have the wash. We have a pretty nice wash going here. I'm looking at this very nice area right here, and I'm going to put in some of that Quin Rose. The Quin Rose is a darker, so that in value than the Quin Orange. It's probably pretty close, but just want to be careful to not get too much. Now, since I'm now working wet and wet here, so this color is going to start to spread, which I quite like. And going over the green, I'm going to pick up a really nice brown color. I'm finding that I'm getting some really nice browns from the sap green and the Quin Rose. So that's kind of a wash, how you would approach a wash. Let's try a nice, I'm going to dip into New Gambage. I love Gambage yellow. It's just got this really warm yellow rather than the cobalt yellow, which is more of a, it's a cooler yellow. And let me try some of this permanent red. That's a primary red, so it tends more towards the orange. Let's see what happens if I put some alizarin in on this side. You can see how different those two reds are. Let's just see what happens here if I put some alizarin here. And you can see it's starting to spread, and this is kind of what really excites me about watercolors. Just playing around, you know, just playing around, seeing what happens. Let me get some more of that Quin Orange going here. Now I've got a pretty nice wet piece of paper going here. I'm going to grab my round brush, Phthalo, I think that's it. Let's try some lifting. Since this is spreading into a nice brown gray color down here. Down here at the bottom there's a nice grayish brown color. What I'm going to do is, again with a clean damp brush, and damp, I remove the water. I'm going to just go in here and lift here and there. But this is becoming a very interesting color here. So let's leave it. Now here, there's also a lot of wet color. So to lift that, and in fact I'm going to grab a smaller flat brush because I think I want to mimic what's going on over here with that window. And just lift. I've got my damp brush right into the paint and it's just wicking it up. Set this aside because it's really quite wet, and this at this point should probably dry a bit before you go over it with anything else. Green yellow. I'm not going to put a lot of water on this because I actually do want it to be fairly dry because I'm going to wash over this one. But I'm going to just cover that with this green yellow color. It's actually called green gold. Okay, so that's pretty dry. The idea here is to mute that color and make it a little more interesting, although I think it's beautiful like that. Now you could do this in a couple of different ways. I could go into it with, I'm going to just try a little Queen Gold. I haven't been working with this much, so let's see what happens. Here's the deal. When you're working on a washed paper that is dry, you want to put that down. Put down the stroke of paint. Just try not to scrub it, because what happens when you scrub it, I'm going to try scrubbing it a little down here towards the bottom, is you're going to get the underneath color coming up. So rather than seeing through it in this wonderful transparent way, you're going to start to break down your paper and you're going to start lifting color. So that is sometimes something you want to do, but if you're just starting, play with this and see how it goes for you. Now, I just have a wild hair here to try this magenta. Let's see what happens over that green gold with the magenta. That was a pretty dark color that I put over top of a lighter color, so let me just try to lift some of it up. Just for, let's try this so you can see the difference. That's the magenta straight, and you can really see the difference between these two colors here if I put them side to side. This is much earthier. The red and the magenta mixed with the green and then gave it a toned down look. I like to play with mixing browns and grays. So let's do a little bit of that here. Let's go into the new gamboge. Now this is wet, so I am hitting this paper with the brush pretty rapidly so I don't pick up. You could dry it, but that is just a beautiful color with the gamboge. Now what I will do with these is I will write on the back of them what I did, what colors I used and what I did, so that I can use them as reference, and no better fun to be had. Well, I hope that was helpful. I really just have so much fun doing this, and just if you let yourself go and really just play with the watercolors, they are a little tricky. I'm not going to lie to you. They take a little practice and a feel for that water, which just develops. So play. Don't use too much water. If you want to err somewhere, err on the color, because at least the results will be vibrant and beautiful. And do stop around to my blog and see more on the primer, watercolor primer. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.